Hey, my friend, how are you doing today? Welcome back to Fit and Fueled by Faith, with your lovely host, Stacey, where we share women's health. We're going to dive into fat loss, balancing hormones, and boosting our energy. So, I've been doing a series, just really diving into all the things that we as women in our 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond are going through, like the perimenopause, menopause, hot flashes, weight gain, um, you know, trouble sleeping, brain fog, like I'm having right now, the brain fog. So guess what? We're going to talk about how to track macros without losing your mind. How about you? I think I already lost my mind. So my friends, yes, let's get to it. I got my notes, my handy dandy notes. If I can open that up. So I just want to let you know tracking can feel, confusing. It could be frustrating. And it can feel like another chore task that you have to do if you've never tracked your macros. And so, what I'm going to share to you is simple and flexible, total doable ways that you can track your macros. So, if you want to lose fat loss, hormone balance, and energy that lasts all day, you need to know what you're eating, what your intake is for the day. Because I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I eat healthy." Well, you're eating healthy, but you can't lose the weight. You're eating healthy and you're gaining weight. So there's something there. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad food. If you overconsume a little at a time, you're gonna just add. But besides food, there's other ways that we know women in our midlife, 40s, 50s, and beyond, we gain weight just from stress by doing the same thing that we've done in our 20s and 30s. And I know I say this every week, but yes, things have to change now. Maybe we could say, well, back then I didn't have to track anything. I could eat whatever I want. Beautiful. Yes. Wasn't that nice? Now things have slowed down. And if we really want to, I don't say correct things, but if we want to evolve and embrace where we are in life in this midlife, we need to learn a little more about ourselves. And that includes learning our food, what we're putting in our body, how much of it or how little. You never know. Maybe you're under eating. As well, it's not just about like to see if I'm overeating. It could be, are you under eating? And also too, to see if you're not eating, if you're eating what your macros are, if you're eating enough macros or not. So just in case you don't know what macros are like your fats, proteins, and carbs. Those are the three basic, um, I would say, elements that our foods are made of, right? Most foods are fats and proteins and carbs, a combination of all or both or some or one or the other. So it's just awareness, right? Self-awareness. So my goal here is on this journey, on these episodes that I've been sharing. Speaking of, if you want to tune in after this, last week we talked about best workouts over 40 that won't wreck your hormones. Because yes, workouts could also wreck your hormones. So if you haven't listened, go check that out. And before that was stop eating for less, right? Start fueling right for your hormones and fat loss once again. And we kicked off this series with burn fat without burnout, right? How to eat smarter for for your body, for your hormones, for fat loss. So let's dive right into it, my friends. So, why track at all? Why should we track our calories? Guess what? One, it gives you a clear roadmap, not just guesswork. Two, it helps you to see you're actually eating enough, especially protein, as I said earlier. It's not just about seeing if I'm overeating or undereating, but just to see if we're eating enough. Because it's the macros that really, it's our calories and macros. Because I was doing things wrong. I was thinking, okay, if I'm in a calorie deficit, I'm gonna lose weight. But I was in calorie deficit for like years, way too long. So probably screwed my body up with perimenopause, gained weight, and it's all in my gut. Um, and that was incorrect. Yes, you need to be in calorie deficit, but you also need to get in number one, right? That protein. We'll talk more about it. Why track macros at all? Again, it prevents the I'm eating healthy but not losing weight frustration. Helps balance hormones by avoiding extreme calorie cuts. Okay, because being too long in a calorie deficit, I don't say it jacks up your body, but it jacks up your hormones. It jacks up your metabolism. It messes with your metabolism. So, for example, I've seen women eat less but still stall because that is me. They weren't eating enough protein or were unknowingly going over on fats and carbs. Tracking reveals the truth, my sister. And that's what I found out. I was always over my fats, but I was thinking, okay, does that really matter? I'm under my calories, and my carbs never were hitting my carbs. And my protein, forget it. So I was definitely over fats, low my protein, and my carbs were just everywhere. Not a good thing. So what we need to do is have a mindset shift, right? Mindset shift. It's changing and shifting that narrative, that story that we've been believing or accustomed to believe, or the lies that we've told ourselves, or thinking, oh, I don't need a calorie app. Like I know what I'm doing. I eat good. I eat healthy. But if you're in the place where I'm at, you experience weight gain. You experience like low energy level, brain fog, sleepless nights, hot sweats, or yeah, hot flashes and sweats, like all the above, and craving foods or just feeling more hungry. It's because we're not feeding our body the nutrients it needs. And that means that right ratio of macros, fats, proteins, and carbs. We have to. So it's a mindset shift. So that's why I'm here to make you aware of it, that it's not the end and all be. So let's dive a little bit deeper. So the mindset shift. Tracking is not a life sentence, because we could think like, oh, I got to track forever. Track for, I like to say, 2 weeks to a month. And just really, and if you don't do a month, even just 2 weeks or even 1 week. Because generally you probably eat the same foods, right? So then you don't need to repeat yourself. So there are lots of calorie apps we'll get into. I'll also link the one that I use that I like. That's usually not recommended, but I like it. I like the fonts, the color. It's to me, it's like user friendly. So I like it, and I've been using it for years, and so I have all my data in there. I don't want to change to another app, and it still tells me everything I need to know. So think of it: tracking is not a life sentence. It's not like, oh, here's another job, another chore I have to do. Like I said, do it for 5 days, 7 days. Just try for 1 week. Know all the foods that you eat, and you'll be surprised and learn something, right, about how your eating habits and how you're eating and what you're putting in your body, how much or little, and if you're hitting your macros or not. It's a short-term tool to learn your body's needs. Think of it like using Google Maps, right? If you're going to a new location, are you going to just like guess your way there? Or are you going to like plug in a route so you can get there efficiently, easy, know your destination, and not get lost in every turn and then turn on this street and at that end and hit this wall? No, it's just going to help you so you don't just keep guessing, and then months and years keep going by and you just can't figure this out. So take the time. Like anything, I always say, nothing comes easy. You got to put the work and time and effort in, right? Even working out and going to the gym. You want to lose weight, you got to do the work, you have to put the effort, you got to diet, all these things. You want a job, you make money, you got to go to school, college, education. You got to train, you got to work hard, you got to learn, you got to do the work. Nothing comes easy. So, but awareness, knowledge is key. Knowing is key. Um, so think of it, like I said, going back to the map. Once you know the direction, how to get from A to Z, after one or two, three times, you kind of like, hey, I know where I'm going now. You don't need your Google map. You have it memorized. So same thing, you won't need to track forever. Because like even for me, I've been tracking for a while, but I was doing it so wrong. Like I said, I was like, okay, I'm under my calories, not really paying attention to macros. So now finally I dug deeper and stuff and realized, wow, I need to be in a certain amount of macros for my goals. Your goals, my goals may be different, maybe similar. I mean, my goal is fat loss, but also to grow muscle. So it's knowing how to eat enough protein and carbs and fats to keep and grow your muscle, not lose it while you lose fat loss, right? That's episodes we talked about too. It's not about weight loss, fat loss. We don't want to lose our muscle, especially as we get age and get older. We lose muscle and bone density. So we have to work harder Yes, as we get older, we have to work harder. I know when things were young, when we were younger, life was so easy, you know. Now we have to work a little harder, but smarter. So that's my thing is it's not about working harder, but smarter. Okay. And the mindset shift. So again, and it's about avoiding perfection. It's about patterns, not perfection. Okay. So just learning, you know, life is a work in progress. We learn through failure, right? So we have to keep going at it. So there is a simple 4-step method that I want to share with you. So there's 4 steps here. So one, we talked about it, I mentioned it briefly, and that is we want to start with protein first, right? We want to hit our protein, and our target should be about 1 pound, 1 gram per pound of your body weight. So whatever your weight is, you need to be eating that amount of protein, or at least close to it. And probably most people are not even getting near 100 grams protein or over. So when I first started, I was like under 100 grams protein, gram per pounds of my body weight. And then doing more research, found out I need to up it more. I'm like, oh, okay, sweet. But a little bit more is better than nothing. So don't think you gotta like now devour a cow or meat, a whole salmon or fish. I don't know. But it's small steps, right? It's just, again, we're going to do this 5 to 7 days so you can just learn and be aware what works and how this works. And you'll be amazed. It's like anything, a habit. You got to just do it every day. So you got to definitely do it more than 2, 3 days. That's why I recommend 5 to 7 days. And believe it or not, you'll continue because you're going to be like, wow, I want to. It starts becoming like a game. Like now where I'm at, it's like a puzzle. I used to track after I ate, but now I'm learning, okay, track before I eat. Because it's like, what's the sense if you already over, if you ate and now you track, I'm like, oh, I overate or underate, and you're done. So now I know what my targets are, my goals. And I'm learning what meals are balanced meals. So, okay, that has enough protein and carbs and fat ratio. And so I have certain meals to not memorize that when I have that for breakfast, okay, what do I have room for lunch and dinner or snack? How much more do I need to eat? So I can be a little more flexible, so maybe if sometimes I'll just have my breakfast. And then after that, I'll be okay, oh, I have this much left carbs I need to hit or whatever. So on, I could be flexible. And even for dinner, I'm like, okay, I want to have this and that. And I'll plug things in. I'm like, oh, no, I can't have that. Let me take that out. Because if I eat that, I'm going to go over. So it becomes like a game, like a mix and match game where put the puzzle and pieces together. But that took me time. And I want to save you that time, like years, because I've been tracking for years, my friends, probably like now, year and a half or two. Maybe I stopped for a couple of months. I got back on because I was like, okay, this is not working. And I'm like, okay. And I started tracking again. I'm like, this is not working again. What's going on? I'm like hitting these, I'm hitting my calorie deficit. And so I realized you shouldn't be in a calorie deficit no longer than like 3 months or less. And then it takes time for your body. You have to like build up to maintenance again. You have to like get your body into a rhythm. You have to build a metabolism. So when you're in a calorie deficit, your body goes in starvation mode. So I think that's what happened to me. I was in starvation mode and my body just was storing fat, thinking I was going to starve. So I don't want you to make the same mistake. So you need to hit your protein target, right? That's the first thing. So think of the first thing you want to eat of the day, especially women, um, is that protein first thing in the morning. So that could be eggs. It could be a protein shake, smoothie, eggs with some meat if you eat meats, hard-boiled eggs, all kinds of eggs. You can make an overnight protein oats, which I love, where then I scoop, a scoop of my protein powder in my oats. Now I'm getting my protein, my carbs, and some fats. I put like a teaspoon of peanut butter. So there's all these things. But if you want some information, I will send you over my recipes. Like, yeah, especially if you want to know what my overnight oats are, my smoothie shake. And then of course I usually have fish every night for dinner. So I make sure I'm having like between 4 to 6 ounces of a certain fish, and low on the carbs for dinner because I kind of usually carb out because I work out during mid-morning, midday, and then lower carbs in the evening. So maybe I'll have like some broccoli and fish or sweet potato. I'm trying to think. And then if I need to, if I'm short on some protein, I'll finish the night with like maybe a cup of yogurt, and another scoop of my protein powder in there, and that just tops me off, and I'm good. So you start learning these little tricks and stuff where you can get protein in, where you can cut out. Another thing with peanut butter, like I was putting 2 full spoons of peanut butter in my smoothie. Wow. Now I put 1 teaspoon in, and then instead of a whole banana or half banana, I put even a quarter banana, 1 teaspoon, and a half a cup of almond milk instead of whole. So I found ways to keep it a smaller meal with getting enough balanced carbs or macronutrients. So it's a process, my friends. So we're gonna be for hours, keep moving on. So you want to build meals around protein, fiber-rich carbs, and healthy fats, which I think I talked about. So your protein first, and add like healthy fibers, avocado, vegetables, some fruit. Like avocado is just great. It is so rich in fiber, healthy fibers, and so if you pair like avocado and eggs, and I've learned to make like avocado egg salad. Forget the mayonnaise. Avocado, egg salad, some cottage cheese, mayonnaise, salt and pepper, I think oregano, and mash it all together. You can spread it on like Ezekiel toast or sourdough. Rye bread is a little healthier bread for you. Or you can just eat it with a spoon or with some healthy chips or something, or crackers, a few crackers. Again, like it's a process and it becomes fun. So like anything, you're like, oh, I got to do this, but it becomes fun. Believe me. It's like, wow, when you start learning, realizing, oh my goodness, you just don't eat food. That's what you kind of think, like just eat, gotta eat 5 meals, 3 meals. But it's not that. You got to eat meals that are balanced. It's called the magic plate, right? You have to have the right proportion of protein, right proportion of carbs, right proportion of fats, right? And that includes like your fiber, right? Okay. Number 2, pre-log. As I was mentioning, you want to pre-log because I wasted so much time. What's the sense of after? Like I can't eat this for dinner, eat this for that, and now I'm like, it's too late. Once you ate, you can't take it out of you. It'll come out of you in another way. But gee whiz, so this is where I'm like, you can be more flexible for breakfast, always still protein, and then you could start looking and see, you know, what you have left for carbs and fats and snacks, and you can start plugging things in for lunch and dinner. So sometimes I'll do that. Like I said, I'm at a point now I already know for breakfast if I eat something that's gonna be good, and I just kind of then I see, okay, for lunch, dinner, and then snack. Usually it's a yogurt, like I said, the scoop, or a little peanut butter if I need to top up. I need a little bit more protein, or crumble some almonds or something. So you learn. Okay, so again, pre-log. So you can use apps like MyFitnessPal is a very popular one. Macros First, Chronometer. I use LifeSum, LIFESUM, LifeSum. I've been using that for years. I like it. So again, you can just when you go to the app store, you can check out the apps and see which one looks user friendly that you like. I like LifeSum, and I'll put the link if I can in the description so you can check that out. And again, so pre-log breakfast or dinner so you know how the rest of the day should look. See, I'm already saying things before. I'm kind of skipping ahead here. Now, step 3, use your macro swaps. Example, if dinner is higher in carbs, which I said that, lower them at lunch. Or if you had higher carbs at breakfast and lunch, lower them for dinner. Just swap things out. So swap avocado for berries if fats are running high. So there's ways to, shift things around, move it around. Like today, just, when you see those things, they'll see those commercials. When you see people, I'm sure you've seen, like, they're like, oh, you could eat bagels and we eat pizza and you could eat whatever you want. It's true, but make sure that's what you want for the day, because you're gonna have to cut something else out later. If you want to have a dessert after dinner, you're going out to dinner with your husband and your partner, and you're like, hey, I'm going to this restaurant. I know. So then maybe for breakfast and lunch, you're like, maybe plug in your dinner. So then you can see, okay, what could I have for breakfast and lunch? Or see, I save room for dessert. Because sharing is caring. So share that dessert with, your partner. That's what I do. Have a bite or two, and then I'm good. Okay, so that's your swap. And then 4, plan for treats. Like I said, if you know dessert is coming, work it into your day. No guilt. So again, I'm just getting ahead of myself here. So 5, action steps for this week, my friend. Okay, so guess what? It's going to be maybe first researching for that calorie app. or tracking app. I don't like to say calorie tracking, that macro app. See which one you like. You know, that shouldn't take you too long. And then do what you gotta do. You could sign up. Some of them are free. Like the one I like, there's a bar. I could scan barcodes and stuff. And but like for $10 a month, you can like see everything. So then you can see. It'll give you like a green smiley face. Give you different colors to show you like if your meals are balanced or over, or all kinds of things. But just to get started, you know. And also too, just so you're thinking like, how do I know what my goals are? Usually when you plug in these calorie apps, it asks for your age, height, your current weight, your activity level. And I'm pretty active, but I still put moderate, not modest. Yes, I'm dressing modest. You see, I got my Jesus. All we need is Jesus, my friends. But moderate. And then it'll kind of plug in what you need. And of course, there's like, you want to lose weight, you want to build muscle or gain weight, whatever. So yeah, check that out and see how that works for you. So download a macro tracking app that you like. 2, set your daily goals, protein first, then carbs and fats. Okay. Right? Fats last. So bigger portion of protein, then carbs, and smaller portion of fats, right? Track for, I would recommend 5 to 7 days. Notice patterns and where your numbers fall short. Adjust portions and food choices to hit your targets. Yes. So my friends, remember, tracking is just a tool. And that's all it is a tool. Like our Bible is a tool, right? We open God's word and we can have communication with God. We can hear God speak to us, right? These are ways, access to learning, to growing, whether it's spiritually or learning how to eat and eat the correct portions, right? It's just another tool, another device to help us that's useful. Not like us, if you're saying you got no time, think about, where do you spend time? If you're spending like an hour on social media, you definitely could spend a few moments downloading an app, plugging that all in, and then, you know, every meal, or even if it's 15 minutes in the day, okay, what do I want to eat? Plug breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then see if you hit your goals, your targets. If not, see what you need to move around. You can still have your food. Maybe instead of a cup of rice, you're going to cut down to half a cup of rice, or instead of one whole potato, half a potato. So it could be like, you don't have to eliminate the foods, maybe just a smaller portion, a quarter cup of rice or a quarter cup of pasta. So it's fun. Like I use measuring cups. I have a scale. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. I went to the restaurant today with my daughter and I'm like, how many ounces was the salmon and the shrimp? Like I'm not afraid to ask, because I need to know. I got to make sure I'm hitting my protein, right? Because protein is a little bit more difficult. We could sit here all day and shove carbs all down our throat, because everything that's processed is almost carbs and fat, and that's why most people are overweight. I think like 1/3 of America is overweight, and 1/4 is like obese. So something has to change, and it starts by becoming aware of what's not working and wanting to change. Some people are like, hey, I'm good, whatever. That's them. But obviously, if you're watching this, you are looking for tips, help, support, and that's what I'm here for. So remember, it's just a tool. It's not a life sentence. It's not a prison. So use it to learn, right? And then as you learn, you can loosen the reins when you feel confident. So when you start feeling confident, like me, like there was a day I think I didn't track till after, and I plugged everything. And I'm like, oh my goodness, wow. So it's almost like a game. You could, do it and then try not tracking and see if you hit, you know. Um, but do that when you really feel confident. Yeah, you don't want to go over or under. Also, my friends, so if you want to see some bullet points of everything I explained about on today's episode, you want to go check out on my Instagram. Yes, Instagram. If you're not there, go and see, check it out, and follow at Fit and Fueled by Faith, where I share a visual of what this conversation, not the whole thing, but the bullet points, so you can have a visual. So head over to my Instagram for a matching carousel post. So maybe there's like a few slides, but it breaks it down so you could have a visual instead of just listening. You also see, and you could also save it too, or screenshot it so you could keep it on your phone or whatever. You could have this information again, like like a tool, right? Have that information, create a folder of like all your tool tips and tricks. Yeah. Okay. And oh my goodness, my friends. So thank you. That concludes our episode today. You know, tracking our macros without losing our mind. And guess what? Guess what? So today we talked about tracking. Next week, come in next week, we're going to talk about how we eat intuitive without tracking. Okay, so I want to give this to you so you have the tools so you can use it. And like I said, I'm starting to get to the point where I can start slowly not tracking as much, but to where I start feeling more confident and realizing, okay, this meal, all these meals, and I got this. Or then I can free myself from tracking. Because again, that can become an addiction, right? Like anything else. Like I gotta track this, and you find yourself like on your phone for half an hour. So, it's about just a tool to use, not to make you more crazy and dizzy and dazed and confused, but just to help you become aware. So that's it. So thank you again for tuning in to Fit and Fueled by Faith. I appreciate you being here. So stay strong. And you know what time it is. It is time to go out in the world to share love, make peace, and be happy. And go glorify the Lord in your thoughts, and your words, and your actions, in what you do, my friends. Remember, God is always with you. And if you want, say a prayer. Don't let the enemy deter you and bring you down. Remember earlier, it's a mindset shift that we have to say, okay, you know what? XYZ is not working. Why not? Let me try this tracking thing. And again, track for 3 to 5 days. You could do 7 if you want, and see how it works out for you. And let me know in the comments if you're watching YouTube or over Instagram. Go check out that carousel so you can save that and share it with a friend who maybe needs to hear this or see the visual post. Because, yeah, I think we need to talk about this because we can get a little obsessed about tracking, or we could feel like, oh, I don't need to track. So it's that mindset, find that happy balance, right? So we can burn fat, stay energized, and balance our hormones. All those good things, right? On our journey here. So, my friends, I love you, but you know what? Jesus loves you more. Yes, he does. So, have a beautiful day. Love you. Peace.